Hey listeners, good morning. We're here again on a Thursday morning. Winters are about to come and a beautiful weather is just awaiting for everyone for us. So, welcome to yet another episode of our LinkedIn talk show series, Productivity League, hosted by We360.ai. So, as we always say in our talk show series, Productivity League, our mission is pretty clear to build a dynamic and a constructive learning community around this vital topic, productivity. And the objective is that we all grow together with the collective knowledge and experiences of our entire community coming together. I am Kunal Sinha, your host, and today we're diving deep into a very interesting and a very unique kind of topic, how to create a sense of ownership among employees. Now, we all know that people are the most important element in the success of any organization in today's competitive business environment. And if your team or your people start taking ownership, your road to success is a smooth and clear. But the real challenge comes is how do the leaders achieve that? How can you do the same in your team is what we will be discussing today. And today we have some amazing guests with us who bring a wealth of experience around building and managing teams across different industries. So not taking much of the time, let me quickly introduce you to the amazing speakers for today's event. In this episode, I'm privileged to host four amazing speakers, Divya, Danesh, Nitin, and Tanu Priya. And so just to give a brief context about all of them, Divya is a director of Global Procurement Resilience Program at Schneider Electric, which is a well-known name in the corporate world, and also recognized as the world's most sustainable company in 2021. At the same point of time, Danesh is the head of HR at Shama Power, which is an Indian company and catering to the renewable energy industry proudly. Nitin is an HR manager at Sansa Techniques Services India, which provides airline access to 24/7 support. And Tanu Priya is an HR manager at Atrium, which is a consulting services company. So we have people at different specific positions and coming through across different industries, across different kind of, I should say, the profiles that we are talking about. So we are going to get a whole lot of spectrum and experience from these people and to understand how they face, how they solve these challenges at different team sizes, different industries, and across different kind of companies. So welcome all of you to our event. So let me quickly explain you the structure of today's event. First of all, I would like all of you to take out 2 to 3 minutes and take us through your journey and your experience in this specific journey that you have been into the corporate world. And then we can get into some specific questions that we have received from our listeners. So I have separate questions for all of you tailored to your specific experience and exposure. And then what our listeners would want to is like they would like to understand from all of you how the same challenges have solutions addressed differently to different kind of audiences or industries which are actually catering with the different kind of challenges. So I would like to start with you, Nathan. If you can actually just take us through your journey and your experience.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I welcome once again everybody, the audience, the speakers, and thank you so much, Kunal and the team, for organizing this very wonderful topic really to discuss. And I was so excited when I was approached for this. So to give a brief about myself, in this 19 years, I have been into the human resources management, catering to various businesses, various stakeholders, global, domestic, and employees. See, the productivity which is correlated to employees, correlated to strategies, what we imbibe, and then we all revolve around people at the end, because those are the people who drive the business, drive the organization. We all as a people have a goal, mission, and then a lot of training programs, a lot of strategies, a lot of sustainability activities. I have been in and out with these projects, these transformation projects, sometimes during COVID, where we were all talking about mental health, and then we understood how people really think. And then sometimes before COVID, we were all talking about the business, how we can strategize, how we can increase the productivity in office, and seeing those changes. So at the end, in nutshell, if I talk, always the topic when I talk with the stakeholders or managers is how do I engage my employees? How do I ensure that the optimum productivity is on the table? How do I understand people? That is still a question always. How do I understand? And there's always surveys we normally read. We try to read people, have one-to-ones. And with this, various businesses, various people were from the walk of their lives, and we didn't have the categorized, specific solutions to this. So at the end, when it comes to productivity, it is always correlated to how engaged our manpower, our workforce is. And that's where I would be really happy to really contribute more to this topic, and I'm excited to talk more. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rahul. We'll definitely be blessed with your experience and the vast knowledge that you possess in this specific field. So, going back to the female and the lady power. So, Tanu Priya, I'll come back to you. If you can just quickly share something about you and your journey.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Uh, so yeah, I have around 12 years of experience in the HR domain. I have worked with the, US companies. I have worked with the Indian companies. Uh, you know, uh, Experience in recruitment, employee engagement, strategic planning, leadership, improvement of the leadership team, all those things, training and everything. So definitely, I mean, my majority of the portion involves in this strategic planning, and how to increase the productivity and keep work life balance of the employee. So that is one of the important thing which I'm taking care of right now.
Thanks, Tanu. So Divya, I'll come to you now. With you being bringing a very different kind of spectrum of experience to this specific panel, I would just we'll all just now want to know something about you and your journey.
Yeah, thanks, Kunal, and thanks for inviting me, and a topic very close to my heart. Well, I've been 16 years in supply chain management, and a woman in supply chain 16 years ago was not a very common thing to do, so that had a lot of biases to fight with initially. In supply chain, I've done a variety of roles, right? I've been in the warehouse, logistics, planning, procurement, and this makes you deal with a wide spectrum of people. So, right from truck drivers to forklift operators to people on the in the stores working blue collared workers, and then when you make a shift to digitization, you're working with these super smart young people who are here to make a difference, right? So it's a whole gamut of people who you manage when you are in supply chain. Everyone is different, everyone is unique, but the point is everyone has the same set of emotions. And so to bring employee engagement and motivation, it will be great for me to share today how it works with different segments of people who are doing different roles in the same company, right? I've worked in an Indian company, lasted in 2 years where I started off, and now I'm with Schneider Electric, which is an MNC, and that's also a very different cultural aspect to it as well. So I'll be very happy to share about all of that in today's session. Thank you.
Thanks, Divya. You definitely bring a very different kind of spectrum experience, and not just 15, 20 years back. Even today, it's a very unique thing for a female to actually step into this specific department and handle and manages the things into supply chain. So hats off to you, and we'll definitely love, and it'll be lovely to actually have your experiences from such unique kind of journey. So thanks, Divya, for being here. So I would get back to you, Danesh, where you are actually heading an Indian company, which is actually taking the name of India and miles into a very, very unique sector, which is into renewable energy. So while how you manage things, how your journey have been, we'll just like to know.
Yes, Kunal. First, I would like to thank We360 team and Lokesh for reaching me out. I'm really proud to be part of this panel to share my insights and experience on a topic again which is very close to my heart. Been associated in HR for almost the last 19 years, working for a diversified sector starting from IT, oil and gas, retail, healthcare, mining, real estate, and currently with renewable energy and managing the HR operations for India and global operations. So this is one assignment I've always been tasked for the last 10 years. So if you look at my last 10 years, my association were always been with either a fast growing startup or a promoter-driven company. Any assignment last 10 years, this is one assignment I've been always tasked for. And yes, you cannot find a one-fit solution for your problem. You need to look at multiple aspects. You need to understand what exactly the problem statement and find a solution. So beyond the topic, what we are talking today is also a topic being deliberated among various HR fraternity in various forums, but we could not unpuzzle with one fit solution. So from a different perspective, if you see, as a country, we had a significant economic change. We had a technological advancement, technology disruption. But if you look at last 2-3 decades, productivity, employee engagement, and building a sense of ownership, always a high on HR agenda. So although we have employee engagement programs, employee experience, now we are talking about holistic well-being intervention, which all led to higher job satisfaction, but it is not impacting the productivity of people. So there are a few insights and my experience, which I will share against the question which we'll be asking in the later part of the session.
Thanks, Danesh. And will definitely be lovely to hear your experiences from a very different and unique kind of journey. So, not wasting much time, I'll get into some specific questions that we have received from our listeners, and we would definitely want to understand your insights on the same. So, I would want to start with you, Divya, with like a very different kind of experience and the industry that you come along with. So, the first, a very common kind of misconception, a very common kind of reluctance we see in the companies or in the teams, that while you give that a specific ownership to your employees or your team, then definitely you are also giving or transferring certain amount of autonomy to your employees. So while you do that, how do you maintain that specific employee's autonomy and while also maintaining the organizational goals and standards?
It's a very interesting question. For some reason, I don't know why that question always arises, right? One of the major problems which we have seen, and one of the most common mistakes which we often make, is we hire these super smart people and then we expect them to toe a certain line because there are organizational processes, procedures, and so on and so forth to follow. And that leads to a lot of frustration among people. I think one way which I can say very strongly that we try to avoid this pitfall is firstly by making sure that the employee's vision and the company's vision are aligned, right? Many times people work for themselves, and when they start working for themselves, a lot of things on the company's side are compromised. Like my opinion is more important to the company. That often it just happens subconsciously. And to avoid that is to create a very strong sense of purpose, and a purpose aligned with the purpose of the company. So, for example, in Schneider, we work for sustainability, which resonates very much with a lot of people. We want to live in a sustainable world. And when you start aligning at that level, that I'm contributing and working in a company which is making the world a better place, then you start to also align your thought process in line to what is good for the company. Then the whole debate around, I don't think I have autonomy, I'm not being allowed to do what I want, all that starts to fade away a little bit, and it translates into discussions, debates, understanding, talking to each other and figuring out why you don't agree on a certain point, or why is there a difference of opinion here. It becomes a very healthy debate to say, instead of a difference of opinion, because it's difference of opinion is going to be there. No two people think alike. But the whole question of autonomy comes when you start to feel that I don't have the freedom to do anything in this company. I'm asked to toe a line. But that's never the case, right? Nobody wants to conform you if you are going to do something really great for the company. That's the difference that we are trying to bring by imbibing trust. By when you imbibe trust, there's a lot of empowerment which is automatically happening. And when there's empowerment, your discussions are more channeled towards how can we do things better. Then it's not a question of not having freedom, and it's a question of, okay, how do I fight these obstacles and differences of opinion that I have through discussions? How do I align people? How do I build supporters? And how can I get things done? You might be a small manager in the company, you might be the director, or you might be the CEO, but your challenge is still the same. How are you going to convince everybody to do what you want to do? And that actually comes from a sense of empowerment, which is aligned to the company's vision. Only if you are aligned at a purpose level will these things start to fall in line. right? So it has to start with a lot of deep conversations, and it is not something that comes with authority. It comes with building trust and empowerment. It's not easy. We are doing it ourselves in different ways, but that's the way to start.
Yeah, definitely, Divya. It is actually one of the toughest tasks on the planet for any manager or any leader across team or across companies. And yes, you rightly said that, like, yes, there are a lot of misconceptions as well amongst the team members, amongst the leaders. So this brings me to another interesting question, for which Nitin, I will come back to you. So, in your experience, what have been any common misconceptions about employee ownership that needs to be addressed categorically by the leaders and by the teams across the companies?
Great. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, there has always been um, a setback from the managers that if I try to build this ownership or entrepreneurial aspects within the employees, I might lose the control over the team. The direction would be misled. Maybe something which is too far destructive than in control. And so these are the few you know. The managers who really think in that direction, but at the end they are the same who also talk about how to really I bring out the best potential out of my employees. And then this works hand in hand, so you need to leave the micromanagement in this case. I can give you a specific very small example to remember. A great one of the best employee, very much engaged. He would rather die for the company. He had that enthusiasm. And I suddenly, after 2 years, I found him sitting in corner in the office event, and I don't see him gelling up. And I was very curious to understand what happened. And then I saw that he has went through a lot of transformations in his personal life, which also affected his performance, which we now know that personal life is correlated to profession and vice versa. So if you really help him here as a manager, ask, take him along, understand, and have some kind of a background or some kind of environment for him to support both. That's where you build those trust, the relationships, and then that's how the inner enthusiasm, the ownership, what we talk about, that you will do whatever it takes apart from your KRA, apart from your JD, what is required for you. And that also helps to both the parties, the company as well as the employee. And that's what the goal is, right? So you don't need to really monitor employees, just set them with the direction, lead them, and give them the right inputs, how and what needs to be achieved. Set them all on their own path, and that will bring in the ownership of what we really target for.
Yep, thanks, Nathan. So, yes, a lot of important points mentioned by you here, and talking about the regular structures and some important ongoing points that we should, or as a team, should notice about. So now, Danesh, I will come back to you on the same point. That I'm like, yes, there are some set routines or the structures that the companies or the team should follow. But from your experience, since you are actually managing a very different kind of industry in the team out there, so from your experience, what should the organization or the teams should do to explore beyond the normal routines or the set routines, so that they can build a better sense of ownership among employees?
Okay. Kunal, before I get into the crux, let me give you a few perspectives so wherein we can easily connect to what the ownership is and what the business or HR has to explore beyond the routines. So we all know what ownership is. Okay, so to me, ownership is a feeling which you cannot buy as a commodity in any marketplace. Now, in general, we all know the ownership, or maybe I would say in a traditional organization setting. So ownership means employees given a job and they are expected to complete to best of their abilities. So that is the ownership means in a traditional organization or in a traditional setup. Now, if you look at the current era where most of the organizations having a objective of increasing their year-on-year growth by 1x or 2x or 3x, and grown-up organization want to sustain their position among the competition, the word ownership also has evolved. So now the word ownership is evolved as, and now it is called as a total ownership. So total ownership to me is all about having a sense of ownership of their thoughts, their action, in order to achieve a common goodness in best interest of the society, the employees, the customer, suppliers, and other stakeholders. So this is one perspective. Let's talk about the cultural perspective. So if you look at the globe, so you can classify the countries into two categories. One is the low power culture countries and high power culture countries. So if you look at from Europe towards West, they are low power culture countries, and from Europe to this side East, we you can categorize all the countries under high power culture countries. So going by the name high power culture countries, we are tuned and toned from our childhood days. So, for example, yeah, respecting parents is good. So we cannot challenge parents in our childhood days. So when we go to the school, we cannot question our teachers because that is considered as something sin in the school environment. Then we come to college, again we cannot question. So we have to respect the professors, teachers, and again the same continues in a organizational setup. So we are tuned and toned as a sunflower, just move what our reporting managers say is correct, and we cannot challenge them. So that is one cultural perspective where most of the organizations are finding difficult to build a sense of ownership. Let's look at another perspective. So for last 10 years, I would say from 2010 to till late 2020, I always see a very close connect when we talk about sense of ownership with employee engagement. So whenever I get any assignments that I need to build a sense of ownership among the employees, I always look at employee engagement or enhancing the various factors that drives employee engagement as a route to address the issue. Now, going by the definition of habit beyond where I see a closer connect, engaged employees are those and their engagement are measured by 3 years. The first is say. So what it says is the engaged employees are those who are proud about their association with the brand, and they also talk about very positive about the company internally and externally. The second S is stay. Beyond the physical presence, the engaged employees are those who will have an emotional attachment or emotional connect with the organization. Three, the stay, strive. Strive means beyond assigned responsibilities. Engaged employees are those who take that extra mile or take additional initiatives to achieve the business interest. So if you look at the behavioral attributes of employees whom we are talking about holding a sense of ownership, are the employees who are highly engaged, the behavioral attributes are same. That there are not much of differences. But even though enhancing with lot many initiatives on different factors, holistically it was not creating a sense of ownership. That is evidenced by our employee engagement studies. So even the highest benchmark for any employee engagement studies is around 83 or 80, 84. It depends and vary year to year. So this is more from employee engagement perspective. Let's look at the talent perspective. So if you look at past few years, I'm talking about from the COVID year, it has presented extraordinary challenges for the organization in terms of attracting, engaging, and retaining a top talent. So organizations worldwide went remote almost overnight due to pandemic-driven lockdowns, and employees had to up their game and perform in the environment of certainty. So if you look at the year 2021, the Great Resignation took over. We've been hearing about jargons like Great Resignation, quiet quitting came to forefront, and it made the talent market turned into employee centric. So with this change in talent perspective, if you look at the employee preferences have completely changed, and the organizations have to look beyond the mere employee engagement to build a sense of ownership. So if you look at the current talents expectation for them, jobs are no longer a means to get the basics that managed or mortgages paid. They want a meaningful experience at work. So they want the same level of attention, respect, euphoric feeling experience what they used to enjoy in a high-end retail environment. They are expecting in their workplace. So basically, the talent want the organization and HR to treat them as a customer, not as an employee. So with all these perspectives, if you look at how I built a sense of ownership, is a big question. Let me share my experience here. I think post COVID, I took up an assignment with a boutique real estate company. They've been into real estate service almost close to a decade, and the pause what they had during the COVID lockdown, I think they have given lot many triggers to the promoter in the way they have to look at for the next 2 years, 3 years in terms of growing up the business to the next level. So, being a small boutique promoter-driven real estate company, they could not be able to sustain in the lockdown. Almost 80 to 90% of employees were laid off during the COVID period. And when I was looked at to lead the HR function, the first task which I was given to me is to rebuild the team. So, yes, though there were the insecurities about the sector because real estate was one of the most impacted sector during the COVID. So people had job security issues taking up assignment in real estate, but through talent branding, through projecting various initiatives which we do in the organization, we could able to attract people in a very short span of time. Same thing with the similar the speed we have hired people, the same speed people have started leaving the organization. So we were thinking we did everything. So we transitioned from a rule policy book to a principle driven policy book, lot many employee engagement activities touching upon all the areas. Despite of it, why people are leaving the organization, when we looked at each and every aspect at a minute level, even the 1 month salary paid late, people will tender resignation and they quote this as a reason. And parallelly, we saw one group of people who've been with the organization for a longer period. They've been managing all the hazards, but still they could able to deliver the expectation and align with the organization. Then the spark came. So it is not about the processes. It is not about the experience what employees gain in an organization that make them to hold a sense of ownership. It is the emotional attachment what they have in the organization. So then after realizing it, so even now till date in all my assignment, what I always look into is look at each and every aspect of the employee touch points and make it a kind of a platform wherein the employees can easily or emotionally connect with the organization.
Yeah, thanks, Dinesh, for the detailed answer. And yes, so the subtle bottom line from the whole answer that you actually said is, first of all, empower and enable the employees very strongly, so that they themselves feel enabled and empowered, and then only they'll be in a position to actually take that ownership. So yeah, thanks for putting it in a very very clear and a very detailed manner. So Tanu, sorry for a long wait. I'm coming back to you now after a long pause. So since we have actually discussed about multiple dimensions of this specific topic, now one thing I just want to understand from you that even while whatever we discuss, we can discuss multiple strategies around building that sense of ownership amongst the employees. But we all know that with all these strategies and everything, the challenges will still be there, and it is very difficult to actually get hold of those challenges and to solve those challenges. So, can you share any such kind of experience or any such kind of strategies that you have been following where you actually faced the resistance or challenges in promoting the ownership, and then how you were able to overcome them in that specific scenario?
Yes, Kunal. I mean, if you see, challenges are everywhere and it's unavoidable. You cannot avoid it, right? But the important thing is how you are going to deal with them. That make the difference. So for first of all, understanding the challenge, what is the challenge is, what is the struggle because of that challenge, and how you're going to deal with that. That's important. So I remember there was one new project came, I mean, as I'm from the IT background, so there was one new project came to the organization, and that was all completely a new skills was required in that project. So people were hesitant because it was involving a lot of ownership, a lot of training, skill improvements. There are a lot of things were involved in that, and definitely people have to spend a lot of time, and things like that. So there was a resistance in the people that they don't want to take that. But again, just to overcome that, we did a lot of workshops, discussion, I mean individual accountability. We started doing the individual accountability. And then we also started with a few things like, the highlights, how the previous projects, I mean, where the people has been successful, they took the ownership, and then where, it led to a, positive outcome. So, and I think for this, the most important thing here, Kunal, is, which is rightly said by Divya, Dinesh, and Nitin also, that trust and empowering your employee is really important. So if I'll do a micromanagement, if I'll go and check in every minute, every time, what is happening, what has done, and all those things, definitely they'll not feel empowered, and they'll not, they'll hesitant, taking the ownership of it. So that's one, that is there, we have to take care of it. We have to provide a space to our employees, to work. So let's see how that person is working, how he's taking the ownership. If I'll go and every time I'll poke in, definitely the next time that person will not take that ownership. And the second thing is, make employee feel like a family. So here in our organization, we have make a culture in, wherein we every time say, we, this is this second family. So we spend a lot of time in the organization, completely 8 hours, 9 hours, right? So definitely it's a second family for us. So we have made that kind of culture. You feel like a family. And wherever there is a need, not professionally but personally, you getting involved with the, employees, with that their personal help, and also, so definitely that creates a, huge difference. And then, employees starts feeling like a family, and they definitely start taking the ownership by its own. So this is, I mean, I feel this is, what, I can say about this.
Yes, exactly, Ranu. So, of course, like when you actually make them feel that they are a part of their company, then of course they'll actually start taking that company as a part of their own lives. So that's very true. And like, but that is again something that companies fail, or like teams fail to actually adopt. So I mean, with all the answers that we have actually discussed so far in the first phase or the first questions, one thing is pretty clear, that whenever we talk about creating that sense of ownership among employees, it actually has to be a top-down approach. How the leaders manages that, how the leaders handle those situations. So that's something really correct. So, but now, since we have discussed all of these specific things and all of these specific challenges, multiple kind of different experiences across industries. So, Nitin, I would just want to understand from you, like in your last 19 years of experience, with such a vast experience. So, historically or in the current phase, are there any specific emerging strategies or technologies that you will actually suggest teams to further enhance the employee engagement and ownership?
Okay. So let me break it down. Like technology and strategies, both are very different. So there is no measurement, or there is no technology which we could really give us any kind of inputs. But then when we talk about the HRMS tools or the AI technology, where we will see the moods, we will see the engagement of the employees, you will see that measurable factors, your turn down ratio, your engagement activities throughout your surveys, how do you see the improvements. So those are the data points which will help you to understand what kind of strategies which needs to be imbibed within the organization towards the goal. Coming to the most common strategies, what works so far in my 19 years of experience, is that your leaders coach the leaders with the right feedback strategy, right kind of information, what exactly we are trying to achieve from the employees. How do you make employees comfortable? How to have the atmosphere, an environment where people think that no question is a stupid question. They should be welcomed, and whatever idea they have, when they put it on the table, you need to really be open, positive, and give them a structured feedback, why it is right, why it is wrong, and give them these ownership to contribute within the organization to lead the direction what the whole team is walking towards. So that is one which has always worked upon. Second is the environment, overall environment, what we have within the organization about skill development, the management participating in the succession or in the next level skills which is required for this role, or any other internal opportunities where we invest in the people, not only for the benefit of the company, but then when people are valued, people understand that the organization also talks about myself, which might not be really required for this job, but however, there are certain programs, certain personal trainings which could help the employees to find or develop a skills that which could land them a better career in future, not necessarily in this company itself. I would remember one specific example during COVID, where we try to be closer to the employees, give them the transparency every now and then what is happening, and during the lot of say conversations about layoffs within the group here and there, how do we really convey it to the people, bring them all at the same place, have the transparency. That is also the second one which I would like to quote here. And the third one is definitely show interest, have an environment where they feel comfortable, they feel so much included here with every aspect within the organization that they contribute 100%. They give them whatever out of their basic job roles. They would train your juniors, they would lead some certain projects, bring out some ideas. I give them a full environment which will support them to cultivate themselves and cultivate the organization goals. So these are the 3 points which I wanted to put across. Thanks, Kunal.
Thanks, Nathan. So thanks for the answer. And yes, as you said, like to actually make people leaders, the leaders actually grow more leaders. So that is something really, really amazing thing that you actually said. So Tanu, I will just bring the same point, or like continuing the same discussion. That of course, while we actually create leaders and we actually create that sense, mentorship can be a very, very strong and a powerful tool. How can mentorship programs or leadership development initiatives played a role in fostering a sense of ownership among employees, in your experience?
So Kunal, I feel that these programs can help employee feel like more engaged and committed to the organization. So by pairing the experienced mentor with the less experienced team member, a knowledge transfer occurs. So empowering mentees to take the ownership of their, I mean, which empowers the mentees to take care of the ownership of the role. So I mean, the mentorship process, instills a sense of accountability and provide a safe space to the mentees to seek the guidance. So, I think, overall, if you see, so mentorship and leadership development create a supportive framework, that encourage, individuals to embrace the challenges and learn from experience and take the ownership of their professional growth and and definitely to contribute to the organization. So yeah, I feel that that's really important. Yeah.
Thanks, Tanu. Thanks for your input. So, yeah, sorry to keep you waiting for a long time. So, I specifically wanted this particular question to come to you, since the kind of challenges that you have been into are very, very typical challenges. So, I just want to understand that how do you handle situations employees' ideas conflict with the established norms and strategies of the companies?
Okay, it's an interesting one. I'll say there are two aspects to this. One is the kind of role. See, there are certain roles in the organization where processes have to be followed, right? You cannot start breaking rules, because then that leads to a lot of mess later. So it depends what kind of a role a person is in. So say if you're someone who is in the shop floor, on an assembly line, supervising, you cannot keep bending processes there, okay, because you want to do something very creative, innovative. Well, it has to be discussed, aligned with people, so on and so forth. But on the other hand, if you're someone who's working, say, in the AI segment of the company, the digitization group of the company, there you have to challenge every idea that's put on the table, right? You have to challenge your manager. You have to say maybe this idea is better than, or maybe the other idea is better. So it totally depends on what kind of a role you're doing. In roles which are very strategic, which are very digital in nature, yes, you have to oppose. You have to listen to the voices of the people from the ground. It doesn't matter of hierarchy level. All ideas are welcome in those kind of roles. But there are roles like what I mentioned, where you have to follow the process, right? I mean, a very crude example. In certain roles, we say you need military discipline because that's the way it works. It has to be clockwork precision. So it totally depends what kind of role you are in, especially for a manager today, where you have people across generations sitting in your team. Somebody 40 plus, somebody who's just fresh out of college, somebody who's got 10 years of experience. Everybody has bright ideas, right? And everybody is wanting to be heard. But definitely, and if you don't hear them, then it's going to manifest in different ways of, you're not listening to me, I don't like this place, you're not allowed to voice your opinion, I think this company does not value my opinion. All these are kind of feelings that come. But again, like I said, the way we handle it is, number one, in roles where we are expecting processes and procedures to be followed, we definitely take a lot of we take a lot of time and effort to tell people why a certain thing is done in a certain way, right? And of course, if the employee still has ideas, points, we look at it and maybe we can change the process. But you really have to convince the person that what you're saying is right in roles like that. Whereas in roles like what I mentioned, where creativity is the norm, strategy is the norm, we encourage people to actually voice out and say, okay, tell me why I'm not making sense, or tell me why this will not work. Right? And then that's how conflict changes into discussion. 'Cause, see, conflict is always going to be there, but the word conflict itself is negative, right? Because it means two people are fighting. It's not a fight in an organization. Finally, everyone is working for a company and the company has to win. If that has to win, then it has to be a discussion, not a conflict. So, how does a manager convert a heated situation into a healthy debate and a discussion? I think that's something which we have to learn to do more and more now, because I think it was before. Culture is changing very rapidly, and after COVID, a lot of people prize a lot of people are now press much more than money or climbing up the ladder. That's just not the priority. The priority is more, I want to live a healthy life and I want to do something good. When that's the case, they are going to have more ideas. They are going to have more. They're going to oppose you more because something doesn't make sense to them. So how do you then handle this situation? Because employees are your assets, and managers who are say they are wrong are essentially taking the wrong route. Okay, because I've seen leadership within the companies that I work in where they don't like to be opposed, and if that is, then whatever you're doing, nobody's telling you eventually that what you're doing is wrong, and then you're going to make a mistake. Okay, numbers plummet after some time. It happens. So you should have people telling you is wrong, and then you should listen to them and tell them why you think so. Quantify it, justify it, prove it, and then that conflict becomes is very wise, which can probably help you design better strategies, in your executions. We used to stay on the whole, but it has to convert into a discussion. Right? And I think that's the way we've been doing it in supply chain. Like I told you, we've got wide gamut of people, right? People from different intellectual levels, people at different experience levels, gender, geography. Everything comes together in a supply chain where you have to make things on the shop floor. But that's how I handle it. There's one solution for it, but the overall solution is converted in one person feeling, okay, this is not the place for me, right? But that's not how it should be. We should always take efforts to empower people and trust. Like I said, if you have that trust, then even a conflict actually becomes somehow converts itself into a discussion, because people that, it's not, I'm not working for myself here, I'm actually working for the company. You might be a startup owner, you might be an employee, you might be whatever, but in the end, you're working for the institution or you're working for a company, right? Which comes first. And then everything is essentially not a conflict, but a debate to say why this is what we should be doing and why this will help everybody else. That's the way it should go through. And I again reiterate, there are many managers who are scared of conflict, who are scared of employees who are very straightforward, because they feel they will be challenged and they're letting go of power, notions of control, so on and so forth. But I think today's managers are also evolving very fast, right? We're not very hierarchical anymore. Anybody can walk into the cabin, talk 10 minutes, 5 minutes. There's no go to the secretary, take an appointment. It's not like that anymore. It's very, very open. You can go talk to anybody in the organization, voice out your opinion, but always support it with facts. So a lot of cultural notions around hierarchies in companies are also changing. Even in big companies like mine, for example, we have an open door policy. You can come talk, and that's the way to foster straightforwardness in your culture. Right? Come say what's wrong. Tell me. I don't mind if I'm your big boss or whatever. But if I'm wrong, you are supposed to tell me that I'm wrong. But that takes time to foster. Especially if you've got a bunch of managers who are very power hungry, then you have a problem with your culture basically, and that has to be fixed. But for both sides, as an employee, make sure that when you challenge something, you're challenging because it's the right thing to do and you have facts to support it. Don't challenge it just because you want to challenge or for the heck of it, because some people just love being rebels. That doesn't work, right? As a manager also, don't I don't think we should be scared about letting our people really voice out. They're not challenging your authority, they're only challenging a situation, right? So I think that's how you should build it. That's what we are attempting to do, at least. That's what I'm attempting to do within my teams. But there's no straightforward answer. But that's just the way it is. That you have to talk it out, you have to voice it out, and you have to literally figure out, depending on the situation. Sometimes you have to follow processes. There's no shortcut, and sometimes you have to challenge. So that's the way it works, Kunal. It's a mixed bag.
Sure, Divya. Yeah, so the depth of your answer actually states your experience and with the kind of resilience that you have actually put up into this specific function, into this specific vertical. So yes, commendable answer, and the way you actually spoke about like separating or segmenting the expectations on the basis of like do you have the transactional workforce or are the creative workforce, and then one very important thing that you actually said is like how do you communicate and how to actually open up, how to communicate the right expectations, how to communicate the right things across your team. And this brings me to like this actually reminds me of a very very beautiful book. It's an international bestseller, Radical Candor by Kim Scott, which actually talks about how to get what you want by saying what you mean. So technically, you were exactly mentioning the same point that if teams are very primarily properly vocal and very clear about their expectations and what exactly they're looking out for, then of course we can actually reduce the conflicts to a very great extent. And the last thing that you actually spoke about trust, and then so I would want to actually take up the question from here itself and go to Dinesh. So, Dinesh, I mean, like, your in your previous answer also, you actually somewhere spoke about trust. Tanu and Nitin also spoke about the same things. And Divya actually finished her previous question on trust only, that if the employees trust or they have trust in the vision or in the companies, it's very easy for the companies. So, we definitely understand that the trust is important, but what exactly is the role that you think that the trust play in cultivating a culture of ownership? And most importantly, how the teams or the managers or the companies can actually build that.
Okay, so I think the fellow panels have almost covered what I had to talk about role of trust. Either if it is a dysfunctional individual or dysfunctional team, okay, the outcome what we see is inattention to results or lack of taking accountability or lack of commitment or fear to conflict. So these are the outcomes. So if you repeat out and if you diagnose and see what is the real cause, it is the absence of trust. So So trust is something a kind of fundamental, and if any shake in the trust, we can see all the outcomes in our day-to-day life. So to me, trust is something very difficult to define or measure. So it's such an aspect, but it is easy to recognize when it is present and to miss when it is not there. Uh, for last few years, I've been working with promoters, collaborating with them in concluding their mission and mission statement and value statement. So every promoter always says, keep trust as my one of core values. I deliberate with them why you want to keep trust as a core value. So in midst of COVID lockdown, though the companies named for trust, okay, either it's a trust, the stakeholders, employees, whoever it is, they are the first who have come up with a tool to monitor their employees whether they are productive or not. So we have a trust as a kind of core value, but wherein our practices are completely contrast to what the core values are. So trust is something, it's a two-way traffic. Okay, it's a two-way road. So as fellow panels indicated, it is a top-down approach. It has to come from the leaders and it has to be reciprocated by the employees. The leaders has to trust their employees and the employees has to trust their management. So here the business owners and the leaders have to start thinking about trust or start building the trust in their culture. It's not having the lucrative jump shown in their company website or pitch books that trust is our core values. So a few areas people have already shared. You need to focus more on result orientation. You should not go and do a micromanagement now and then. Okay, what you do, what how you are doing, why this is not done. You need to look at the result, what the individual is delivering. Been work with project driven companies, most of the time we spend across doing a project reviews and getting into minutes, why you are not done this, why you done this. So that all has to be scrapped. So if you want to save time and you want to drive more of result orientation, give complete autonomy, don't do any micromanagement, allow your employees to show results and question on the results, not on the way they approach anything. So second, I would like to give a small example. A company named MacApp Studio based in Chennai. So it is promoted by two gentlemen and who are professionally known to me for almost 8 to 9 years. So they have started up with 5 employees. Now they are around 700 to 800 employees, providing a customized solution for various IT services. So if, we've been deliberating a lot about HR processes, maybe the new initiatives they have to look at, and even though they are 600, 700, they don't have HR in place, because their perspective is if you take HR will put system, that system will put a controls, the control will question the integrity and trust of the employees. So they don't have the HR in place, they don't have any processes. So even if any employee want to leave, there is no limits. So we have, like if you look at any companies, we'll have a restriction on the national holidays, we have restriction on the end leave, casual leave. There is no restriction. If you want to take a leave, communicate your reporting manager and do your and avail your leave. If it is 10 days or 15 days, 1 month, they are not bothered about it and they still paid with the salary. And similarly, if someone wants loan, they don't get into the reason, they straight away grant a loan of lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, just purely basis on trust. Now the kind of trust which the promoters have shown to the employees, obviously at the initial phase, here and there can be some kind of manipulation, but over the period, the trust the employees holding on the brand or the promoters have gone very high, and every individual have unknowingly they've started a connect, like building an emotional connect with the organization. I would say last 5 to 6 years, not even one separations have happened in the organization. So this is the strength of trust. So it has to come top down. You cannot expect employees to always have a trust on the process, trust on the management and the leadership. The leadership first have to show trust on their employees, their reporting people, and expect a trust from their team members.
Thanks, Danesh. So I mean, like you sum it up very well. That yes, everything goes top down, and specifically if you are talking about ownership, if you're talking about the trust, even if you're talking about the discipline, it always has to be top down, because as we say in a family also, kids don't learn what is taught to them. Kids learn what they actually see. Similarly, your team will not do what they are actually taught. They will actually do what they see their leaders doing. So that's a beautiful line to actually sum it up and to actually end the last question that we had. Now, I honestly wanted this event to expand into more questions since it was really interesting to actually hear some super insightful insights from all of your experiences. But we are sorry that we are bound by time, so unfortunately, we have to wind up now. And really, thanks all of you for your time and valuable insights around this super interesting topic. Thanks for addressing the questions from our listeners in deep details. Actually, just putting up all of your experience on the table, and I'm pretty sure that everyone who was a part of this conversation was really able to get some real useful insights. And I myself was very fortunate to grab some amazing knowledge from all of you and to reiterate those notions and those norms. So thanks a lot. All the best with the great work that you all are doing to empower your teams and organizations. And it was really lovely to have all of you here. Thanks again from the whole We360 team and from all the listeners out there. Thanks, Danesh. Thanks, Divya. Thanks, Tanu.
Thank you so much, Kunal. Thanks.
Thank you, Kunal, so much for animating this so well. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanu. So thanks everyone. And goodbye, amazing speakers and all the listeners. See you all in our next episode of Productivity League. Signing off for now. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.